2022, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, November 29, 2022, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 24, subsection 4 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012, approves the Public Finance Management Financial Inclusion Fund Regulation 2022, published as legal notice number 213 of 23rd November 2022. Madam, oh, there has been a change of chairs. So, Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, these are very important regulations, as you may be aware, that this government made a deliberate pronouncement that it intends to support those at the bottom of the pyramid, Madam Speaker, the so-called the bottom-up, those who are called the hustlers. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, you know, the word hustler has not been properly interpreted or given translation in the English dictionary. So what these financial regulations have used is inclusiveness. And the objectives of these regulations, Madam Speaker, is to ensure innovation, development, and deployment of the bottom of the pyramid financial services and products that are affordable, accessible, and appropriate for the unserved and underserved persons, Madam Speaker. This would be done through credits, savings, insurance, and investment products that will promote inclusion through expanding access to credit by persons in the medium and small enterprises, Madam Speaker, and also to promote market intervention to improve supply of affordable credit to micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, including credit worthiness-based lending and risk pricing, business and financial management skills, and cost of doing business. Madam Speaker, the committee had the occasion to have a sitting with the Minister for Cooperatives and Medium and Small Enterprises on Thursday, when we participated in considering the draft regulations that had been forwarded to Parliament. Madam Speaker, this was a very comprehensive process in which we were taken through the process in which these particular regulations were developed. The regulations were developed through public participation, in which the ministries of Finance and Ministry of Cooperatives conducted public participation right across this country. And it brought together persons in government, persons in the MSMEs. It brought together the governors, the CECs in the county governments, government officials at national and county level. It brought together borders, housing, dairy, cotton, and handicraft, coffee, matatu transporters, SACCOs, cooperatives, Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, officials from the marketing management committees and county trade staff, community-based organizations, the so-called CBOs, civil society, and faith-based organizations. All the key stakeholders, Madam Speaker, were consulted through physical meetings and submission of memoranda in compliance with the Statutory Instruments Act of 2021. Madam Speaker, as a result of those consultations that we held in considering the draft regulations that were forwarded to the committee, we made very serious amendments to those regulations that included, Madam Speaker, the process of removal of those officials that have been appointed, that will be appointed pursuant to this regulation. The other one, Madam Speaker, that we asked them to include were the products that they intend to roll out with regard to these regulations. They had told us that products are not included because they wanted to maintain some flexibility. we told them that according to the Statutory Instruments Act, it has to be clear, it should not require a lot of elucidation, and so we told them that those products must all be provided in the regulations. And we're happy to note, Madam Speaker, that all the comments that were made by the committee members at the meeting that was held on the 24th of November at Hilton Hotel in Machakos were all considered, Madam Speaker. And as a result of that, these regulations were published on Monday, yesterday, and forwarded to this committee, forwarded to the Committee on Delegation, Madam Speaker. We considered these regulations today, went through, checked whether those amendments were made, and we are satisfied that the amendments were carried and they were all included in the regulations, and it complies with the Statutory Instruments Act of 2013 and also the Public Finance Management Act of 2015, as well as the Constitution. Madam Speaker, the authority to make this regulation is granted pursuant to the Public Finance Management Act of 2013 that stipulates that the minister shall make regulations to provide for good financial management of anything that exceeds 10 million shillings that is provided as a regulation, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we have had so many things that have been said about the ASLA fund. It's been said that it's going to attract a single-digit interest. It is true, Madam Speaker, and we were informed that the reason why it is a single-digit is to ensure that we provide for administrative costs for those people who will be managing the funds that will be allocated to this particular fund, Madam Speaker. And we were told that, and which we agree, that if we do not provide for interest to be charged on what is going to be lent, it's a small amount, Madam Speaker, it's about 8%, that will be shared between all the actors who will be managing this fund. And we have very many banks who will be participating in giving out these monies, and it is just purely to cover their cost of providing this service, and also to pay for employees who will be employed by the fund. We were informed, Madam Speaker, that if we don't provide so, it means that the cost will eat into the capital, and it will therefore reduce the amount of the money that has been allocated into this fund. And what that means, Madam Speaker, is that it will then reduce the capital, and over time, it may even disappear because of the cost overrun in that particular fund. And also, the money will not be available for other Kenyans to borrow. The intention is to safeguard the funds that have been allocated to these funds to ensure that other Kenyans who have not borrowed, and those Kenyans who have borrowed, they refund the money, and others are able to benefit, Madam Speaker. And so, the regulations are fairly straightforward. It is beneficial to our members in our constituency, and many Kenyans are looking forward to borrowing this money, particularly the Mamambogas, the border-borders that are in Honorable Junet's constituency, who are borrowing from 500 shillings to 50,000 shillings. This will be the first phase. The second phase, Madam Speaker, we are informed of to roll out the second phase of between 250,000 and 250,000 will be done in the month of February, and the new regulations would be brought to cover that particular fund. So this is intended to give the lower stratum of the society, the so-called bottom-up, Madam Speaker. These are people who are buying vegetables from the market, they go and sell, instead of borrowing money, which they do at the moment, where they borrow 100 shillings or 1,000 shillings, and at the end of the day, they must pay back with 100 shillings. So what that means, Madam Speaker, is that they are paying 100% interest on the money that they have borrowed of 1,000. And so this fund, it is 8% interest over a period of 1 year. So if you divide divide by 365, it will be 0.001. That will be the cost. That will be the cost. In fact, Honorable Junet is very happy that that is going to be the cost of running that fund. And so, Madam Speaker, I'd like to assure you that, and assure this House, that the regulations are very consistent with the Substantive Act, the Constitution, and on behalf of the members of the Select Committee on Delegated Legislation, and pursuant to Standing Order 210-4B, it is my pleasure and duty to present to the House the committee's report on the consideration of the Public Finance Management Financial Inclusion Fund Regulation 2022 with legal notice number 213 of 2022. I therefore move, Madam Speaker, and I would like to request the Majority Leader, without being interfered by the Honorable Kamket, who should come and sit next to me, I can continue the discussion from there. The Honorable Speaker, I would like to call upon the Majority Leader to second.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I rise to second these regulations, Honorable Speaker.